Jean-Michel Basquiat was born to Haitian and Puerto Rican parents in Brooklyn, New York on December 22, 1960. According to his website, Basquiat.com, he developed the love of drawing at the early age of 4 years old. In 1976, while attending a progressive school for the arts in Manhattan, New York, Basquiat met and became close friends with a graffiti artist by the name of Al Diaz. From there, they began collaborating under the graffiti moniker Samo, which is short for Same Old Shit, and those influences of graffiti with abstract and neo-expressionism would later develop into the revolutionary, phenomenally outspoken art reflecting Black culture in a political climate that Basquiat would become famous for, making him an overnight success. According to DaysDigital.com, Basquiat has been quoted as saying, quote, "I never went to an art school. I failed the art courses that I did take in school. I just looked at a lot of things, and that's how I learned about art, by looking at it. I want to make paintings that look as if they were made by a child." End quote. This piece by Basquiat, Untitled 1981, was made with acrylic, oil stick, paper collage, and spray paint on canvas, and is currently on display at the Broad Museum in downtown Los Angeles. The Broad Museum describes the work as a self-portrait, stating, "Although complete with eyes, a nose, and teeth, the painting gives us the illusion that the face is incomplete, and the bones from underneath the surface are coming through just as plainly as the colors in the background." End quote. I feel the work is culturally significant because it illustrates the skull and face of a Black man in America under the pressures and mindset of struggles he experiences as one in the 1980s. Basquiat's use of vertical lines at the top of the skull for hair, along with these symmetrical boxes and jagged shapes which make up the rest of the face, including the bulging and bleeding eyes, nose, and mouth, even though, as the Broad Museum states, the pieces of the actual face are still missing. I feel the missing pieces in the face represent the lack of self-awareness one feels having still been in search of their true identity. But also, I feel it represents Black men in the 80s and in America because they did feel incomplete and constantly faced with racial prejudice and injustice on a daily basis. Basquiat's use of vibrant colors such as yellow, blue, pink, and red blend perfectly to make the piece truly something abstract. If you look at each section of the painting, at first the strokes would appear to be random, but in fact, they represent the chaos of the mind. The face of the skull is sad and frowning, as if he's trying to quiet his thoughts in a crazy world. The painting itself is very dark and representative of what I believe filmmaker Jordan Peele might describe as the sunken place. It appears to be intentionally dark, with less light to illustrate the feeling of loneliness. TheSquirrelReview.com stated that because Basquiat was, quote, "obsessed and terrified by the idea he would never live to old age, he made this quasi-self-portrait. He pierces through his subject, breaking the barriers of the external and revealing not only the internal physiology of the sensory organs, but also the very psyche of the subject." End quote. If you look closely, you could see stitches along the jawline, ears, and down the forehead of the skull. This to me represents someone who's trying to keep their mental health together. Someone who's almost toothless, barely surviving in life, and the teeth that they have left are yellow and rotten. Taking an even closer look inside of the brain of the skull, you could see art. There are smaller shapes and lines which could represent art that Basquiat himself was thinking about creating. I personally feel that although Basquiat's art, as I said earlier, looks random, looks like he didn't make choices correctly, I think that that was all intentional, and that's what makes him the genius that he is. Basquiat himself is someone that I truly admire, someone who has been a staple in Black culture, someone that rappers, actors, anyone in entertainment can reference. And although he died at the tender age of 27 of a heroin overdose, I don't believe that changed the genius that he was or discredits any of his creativity.